Jimmy Cannon, one of the real ones, 26 years in the military, former Green Beret, great instructor and a great dude. That can be pretty hard to find in the firearm industry. We're here at Shooting Park, Austria with our special guest, one of my good friends, Danielle Valkyrie. We took a day-long shooting course with Jimmy here. Now, unfortunately, a lot of you watching are not going to be able to train with Jimmy because he's taken a job with Black Trident in Austria. So a little tough to take one of his classes, but we're bringing you a little slice of Jimmy C back at home with a very short summary of his class today on TFBTV. I hope you enjoy it.
James, welcome to Shooting Park Austria in Leobersdorf. We're very thrilled to have you here today. And this is our pride and joy, the new indoor shooting halls. And we have a total of 35 acres here. We can shoot everything from shotgun to rifle to pistols, indoor and outdoor, dynamic pistol shooting, etc. I hope you have a great day here at our new shooting facilities. Very thrilled to have you.
Oh no, thrilled to be here. It's beautiful. Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you, man. Thank you.
We're on the range with my buddy Jimmy, one of the best instructors that I've had the privilege of training with. I'm really excited for Jimmy to bring you guys at home a little bit of fundamentals, a little bit of skill building. I've been really impressed with your curriculum. We've had a great time on the range today. Man, take it away, Jimmy. Show them how it's done.
Yeah, hey, real quick, I just want to kind of dumb it down. Basically, how do I take a brand new guy or a guy that's interested in shooting, put a gun in his hand and get rounds on target within 5 minutes? So we're going to start with a couple things. Probably the most important things to me is how to hold the gun, right? We interpret that as grip. The second thing is how to aim the gun, sight picture, sight alignment, and then, you know, how to squeeze the trigger to make it go boom. So the first thing we're going to talk about is grip, right? How we hold the gun. First thing I want to do, as I'm grabbing the pistol, I want to make sure I got the rear of the pistol right in line with my wrist. So I want to imagine a straight line coming from the front sight post all the way back, all right? This is important. So if my wrist is off, it's not going to recoil correctly. If my wrist is off to the side, it's not good. I want to keep it right down the line of my wrist, all right? Next thing I want to do is I want to keep that wrist straight. Hey, James, let me get you on over here real quick. Point that thumb out as far as you can, engaging this muscle here, these extensor muscles. That's what we're looking for. Feels a lot more stronger, right? All right, appreciate it. All right, as that gun comes out, that's what I'm paying attention to. That is on my support hand side. I'm going to make sure my support hand thumb is going down the side of the pistol. And how I do it is I line it up with my pointer finger. That's a good even grip. All right, people say 60-40, 50-50. For me, I don't have gauges on my hand, so I like to squeeze it as hard as I can, so it'll start shaking. I back it off just a little bit. That's a good solid grip, all right? Also making sure it's right in line with my wrist. Making sure there's no gap here, right underneath the tongue. As I got that grip and I'm holding it nice, this is all I'm focused on. I'm gonna keep this and I'm gonna maintain this because we haven't talked about trigger squeeze. All right, next thing we're gonna talk about is sight picture, sight alignment. So the next thing is, how do I look at, especially we're working with the red dot right now. My biggest thing is to let people know is looking through the red dot and not at it. That transition between iron sights and red dot, how do we crack that code? Because a lot of people are like, I'm having a hard time finding the dot, you know, and that dot goes out there doing the red dot dance trying to find it. You know, when I'm talking to people trying to explain, you know, without them waving the pistol all over in the air, the best way I could do it is, so it's just a scope ring, right? And all I do is just put a little dot on it. And all I'm doing is put my thumb through it. And we're trying to figure out how we're gonna align the gun with the actual red dot so it makes sense. And I got about 45 and it's almost like my SRO, right? So if we look at it, it almost mimics that. I'm pushing my thumb out. I'm looking through the sight, not at the sight, all right? And if I bring it back and I find a point on it, it's gonna come back right to my dominant eye, just to make sure I know that dominant eye is grabbing that sight as I push it out. We all grow up in life as a little kid, mom asks you, hey, what do you want from the candy aisle? And you're like just pointing like at all these things over here. I want this, I want that, I want this. But really what that kid's doing, he doesn't even know he's rapid shooting. You know, but we just got to replace this pointer finger with your support hand thumb. So now when I ask, you know, kids, hey, you know, what do you want for candy and stuff? I want that right there. Now I know I got a shooter, a future shooter right there. So while I'm doing that, as I push it out, my thumb is what's pushing the gun out to that full presentation. All right, so we're here. So I'll run it out a few times, kind of waking up that vestibular system so I know what I'm looking for, right? So when I put a red dot in somebody's hand for the first time, they know not to look at it, but keeping that neutral neck, neutral shoulders, bringing the gun to the face, not the head down to the gun. What's great about the red dot is the target is always crystal clean when I'm looking at it. So punching that red dot out, I can still see the target, but teaching those people to look through it. So here we go. Last thing is trigger squeeze. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and make clear. on this one. The biggest thing with trigger squeeze is understanding the trigger, because there's so many different types of triggers out there. Understanding the wall, where it breaks, understanding the manipulation of it, right? So as I rack it back, I'm squeezing that trigger. I'm gonna hold that trigger back. I'm gonna reset the slide, and now I'm trying to figure out the wall of the trigger. So I'm gonna go right till I hear that metallic click. Okay, there's the click. Now I've minimized the distance. That's where I want to now squeeze the trigger for that second shot. Boom. It's gonna cycle back, reset it. This is trigger reset. Boom, there it goes again. Now I've got all the slack out, so I'm ruling out any ways of, you know, over manipulation, over excessive pullback and whatnot, and squeeze. All right, so now we've talked about grip, holding the pistol absolutely still. Now I know how to look at the sight and make the pistol look at exactly what I'm looking at. And now I know how to manipulate the trigger. Now I'm gonna push it back out. So what is happening from this position to that position? What is happening is, one, I am pushing the pistol out with my support hand thumb. I'm pushing it out. I'm pointing at that candy in the candy store, and I'm keeping a good neutral neck and neutral shoulders. I am not dipping my head down. I'm keeping my head erect, all right? So I'm pushing it out, and boom, there it is. Simultaneously, as I'm pushing this out, I'm manipulating the trigger. So by the time I come to full presentation, shot goes off. All right, so let's see what it looks like. We're gonna push out neutral neck, neutral shoulders, push out support hand thumb. As soon as we come to full presentation, shot goes off. All right, trigger reset, come back out, and as we come back home, finger off the trigger. Pushing it out with my support hand, push the support hand, boom, and we gotta get a little reset. Okay, I can feel the wall, there it is, and I'm gonna come back off the trigger. All right, same thing, looking through the sight, not at the sight, push it out full presentation, and we got a good shot off, boom, and recovering. All right, how do we get it out of the holster? So there's a couple things. Don't overthink it, just pull the pistol out of the holster, all right? So with my elbow here, and as I go to pull, you know, you'll get this going on. If I just take my elbow and pull it back, I can actually pull up a lot, you know, higher, as opposed to this. My elbow doesn't like bend that way. So elbow's back, and when you do that, it's more ergonomical for the pistol to come out and clear the holster. And you can lift it up higher. So for some of you guys that ride the holster up a little bit higher, you can clear that. All right, so I pull it out. I call it front sight post accountability. I pull it out, and that's what I'm looking for. Out of my periphery, I'm seeing that front sight post. That means I know where the pistol is at all times, all right? So one more time, I'm gonna marry it up. And as I marry it up, this marrying up right here, this is me clapping like, okay, hey, good job, you know, whatever. But hey, let's get into it. That power clap, that's your 3 position, all right? And if you notice how my wrist is bent, so as I push out, my wrist is nice and straight and we're good to go, all right? So let's put it all together. So I'll pull it up and boom, front sight post accountability. I see it right there. I'm gonna push it out, look through the sight, not at the sight, manipulate the trigger and squeeze it, all right? Trigger reset and come off the trigger as I bring it back home. Look at the holster, put the gun back in it, and we're good to go. Okay, we're gonna put it all together. So the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna rip the pistol from the holster, but keep in mind where my elbow's at. Don't want my elbows out, I want my elbows back, so I get that good clean draw. So I'm gonna come down, pull the holster, I got my front sight post accountability, I'm gonna push it out with my support hand thumb, I'm gonna show mom what piece of candy I want, I'm gonna put my finger in the trigger well, start milking the trigger, and the shot goes off. I'm gonna reset the trigger. Simultaneously, I'm getting a second sight picture, nothing to shoot at. I'm gonna bring my finger out of the trigger well. I'm gonna bring it back home. I'm gonna look at my holster and I'm going to put the gun back in there. Reloads. Let's talk reloads real quick. So there's a lot of things on reloads. It's a principle, all right? Not a technique. There's many techniques to achieve the principle, and oftentimes we get really confused with that. All right, so I'm just gonna show a few techniques, but ultimately it's the pro timer that's gonna tell you which technique to use. Just remember that. Once that slide goes back, the first thing I wanna do, that's the pistol telling you, so you're gonna feel that slide lock. So simultaneously, I'm going to bring it back, I'm gonna break grip, and as I break grip, my shooting hand's gonna index the mag release. This hand's gonna run down, it's gonna point at the magazine I wanna use, all right? Meanwhile, I want to try to maintain my vision up and over that gun, looking through it, not at it, all right, to just continue to monitor the situation, all right? So as I point down at the magazine, I'm going to, next thing is I'm going to point it into the pistol as this one falls out. So it'll look like this. Pistol goes back, breaks, point it in, drive it with my heel in my hand, index your slide lock, and take your shot. I just want to make sure we all understand there's a lot of things that are being put out these days, and a lot of days it gets confusing. Who do I listen to? Who's putting out the best advice? I just letting you guys know what works for me and what has worked in the past. This is a way, it is not necessarily the way. Next time you're in the grocery store doing some grocery shopping with mom, make sure you point at that candy with that support hand thumb. I'm out.